experienced this morning, for those moments where we sense your loving presence. And we pray, oh God, that you will continue to lead and guide us through this annual meeting. We bless you that you have called us to be your church, that you will never leave us or forsake us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please be seated. So we have been so blessed for, how long have you been doing this, Derek?
3 years.
3 years. This amazing man has been the clerk of the vestry, and he has been fantastic. So I would like to, as a last gesture of kindness, nominate him as clerk for the annual meeting. All in favor say aye. We love you, Derek. Are you willing?
One last time.
One last time. Woo! Thank you, Derek. All right, before you, you have the review of the minutes from the annual meeting. If you can remember the annual meeting last year, kudos to you. But we wrote it down in the vestry, looked at it during the vestry retreat to make sure that we hadn't missed anything. But if we did, there might be some spelling errors here, anything you'd like to fix. Let's first have a motion on the table to accept the minutes, and then we'll hear any changes.
I move to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Mary. Second by Tom. Any changes that you see that you want to, or anything you remember that needs to be in here? All right, do I have a motion to vote? Then I guess we vote. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? No. Okay, the minutes stand. All right, well, this has been a wonderful, last year was a wonderful year of leadership with the vestry. As I said in my sermon, really felt like an emergence that happened as the year came through. I'm sure you felt that way too. We had 3 members of vestry who served. They're rolling off now. One was Sue Steptoe. Some of you might be wondering where Sue has been. She's moved, and it has been difficult for her to find transport to attend and be here, but she loves us and sends her love and greetings. So Sue Steptoe. Mm-hmm. She lives on Anderson Avenue in St. Louis, I think it's about 35, 40 minutes from here.
Yeah, she was coming. I was bringing her to church, but then her husband had to have surgery and needs a lot of care, so that's why she had to come back.
Yes, thank you, Richard, for that clarification. So she's full-time caregiver as well, so she's amped up her responsibilities. So yes, please keep Sue in your prayers. So James, Ammon, and Derek O2 are rolling off the vestry, and let's just give them a hearty thank you for those years of service. Woo! Yay. So now to present the slate of nominees for the vestry and delegate, we have Karen Watts. Can you stand when we... This will help you get exercise while we're after church. Hey, Karen Watts, Mary Ellen Bell, Matt Schroeder, and Angela Breer are our vestry candidates. Do we have any nominations from the floor for vestry? I think I heard Kim Bowling. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. For our nominees for delegate to convention, we have Debbie Wheeler, who is a nominee for delegate, and then we have a 1-year position that's being vacated by Mary Ellen as she goes on vestry. So is there anyone who would like to stand for delegate for a 2-year position? James. All right, James is nominated for delegate. Thank you. We have 2 alternates. Angela Breer is currently an alternate, and then Karen Moore will be another alternate. So, so those are our That's our slate. So since we do not have anyone else nominating, we will vote for them in a little bit, but those are your candidates now with James Ammon on your agenda. You can just write his name in as another person to elect. Okay, so my remarks are the next thing. Oh, do we need to approve the agenda? Okay. Okay. So the next thing that I have on is my remarks, and you will be blessed to know that you have heard my remarks. But I do want to name a couple things. One, I hope that you read the newsletter, the annual news report that came to you as an electronic letter on Friday. It's all of the reports of all of the things that happened this year. That is going to be printed and be available here in the church, and maybe going into our news, people who are newcomers, so that they can see all the things that have happened in our parish. And if you didn't see it, please take a look. That came out on Friday. It says annual meeting newsletter. In addition, Sarah Ammon, I know you don't like to be pulled out and everybody look at Sarah anyway, because we love you. And Sarah did the lion's share of work this year organizing the kitchen, the sacristy, and part of the basement. Hours of giving, and we're so incredibly grateful for that. Sarah sort of emblemizes the quiet servant, and so many of you have done quiet service in the parish this year. And I want to acknowledge that I'm not so good at lifting up and remembering everybody, and so on behalf of the whole parish, thank you to everyone who did those little quiet things, showed up on a weekday and weeded the lawn, or, took all those little things. So thank you for that. I also want to name that in that quiet stuff were people who came for the cleanup and the mulch and mulch. Remember that when we did the stuff in the lawn and the garden? Could you stand if you participated in that? The mulch and mulch and the church cleanup. Yeah. Thank you, friends. Thanks for that work. All right. So those are my remarks. It is just a privilege to be your rector. And then without further ado, we've made it tough, but I'm gonna step to the side and let Deacon Barbie and all those who are gonna make remarks, if you can just come up and go to the lectern so that those on the live stream can hear you. So I pass it to you, Barbie. Oh, yeah, thank you. Stay to the front if you're going to do the mic. Do you want to do handheld?
No, I've got too many things in my hands.
Okay.
So there are a number of things that are listed under the deacon's report, things that we did, the weekly meals, the housing of 24 different people during that blast of winter air that came through at the end of the year. And we serve people, offering Wi-Fi and charging stations on the church grounds, which helps them connect to the rest of the world. A lot of people have a tendency to think that telephones, smartphones are privileges or extraordinary things that only people who can afford them have, but they're vital links to services and to things that people need. So my actual report is, in 2022, in addition to my ordinary liturgical duties, I preached 5 times at St. Paul's, including Christmas Day, where I led communion from the reserved sacraments. I also participated in the planning and liturgy of the Celtic Eucharist we held outside of St. Mary and Joseph's property on Easter Eve. The rising moon at that particular service was absolutely spectacular. And that was the first of our monthly rising services held in that place. Our last one for the year was in November. We were graced with decent weather until that point. We held a successful Voices of the Nativity on December 11th. It was well attended. And I also organized a meeting with Dr. Kanika Cunningham for quite a few of us, plus a couple of neighbors, about the use of Noxolone, or Narcan, and that is used for overdose victims. And as a result, we now have a really good supply of not only Narcan, but also the fentanyl test strips for people to test themselves, their urine, or to test their drugs. So these are things that we're handing out on the first and third Thursday nights. And I also participated, Dr. Cunningham talked to us about harm reduction and the ways that we could help people of our community. And the Narcan and the test strips are one way that we decided that we could help our community. These are life-saving measurements that do not, it just accepts the fact that many people in our neighborhood, in our city, in the world, considering that 80,000 people in the United States died from opioid overdose in 2021, that is just a little bit of how we can help save people's lives. So I also participated in the Requiem, our Renaissance Diocesan program, as we determine as a parish where we have been, where we are now, and where we plan to be in the future. Respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. Okay. All right. James, our senior warden, would you please come forward and give us your report?
Okay, so we'll do something a little interesting first. So here's a quiz on how well do you know St. Paul's by the numbers, and I'll give you a number and you guess what it represents, and especially Derek has to answer. 11. The number of people who joined St. Paul's publicly at Pentecost. 27. People sheltered during the extreme cold snap at Christmas. 110. The amount of money raised at the annual music benefit concert, 200. Care bags given to neighbors on the side of the road or youth in juvenile detention, 250. Total. Total number of people at our summer barbecues, 900. Approximate number of sandwiches made by parishioners and placed in the little pantry. 1,000. Number of books that went through the little free library. 1,120. Approximate number of meals served between the to-go meals and the first and Thursday meals. Yeah. 99%. The amount of what? The amount of people, or the amount of pledge income received compared to the budget. This year is the third year in a row that we have met our pledge goals that closely. $105%. The amount of offering received compared to budget. So again, okay. Last two. Over a cabillions, how the value of this congregation to this community, your clergy, and to God. Yeah. A cajibillion.
This is my, a cajibillion, a bazillion, casmillion.
Sorry. I know, I flubbed her joke.
No, you did great. You did great. Me and my bad math, but anyway.
No, you're good. And then infinity and beyond. Our potential and our future in Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. All right, let me switch over. Okay. I'm not going to retell my full report. It is in the meeting minutes and everything. I'll just take a couple minutes to say a few things that are important to me. It honestly has been my absolute pleasure to serve as a senior warden for the last 2 years. It really has been like taking care of my extended family, and I honestly hope that each and every one of you has felt loved and cared for. I volunteered for the delegate, but I won't be serving on vestry this year. But I really do encourage each and every one of you to try to serve. And if you're one of the people like my wife who's a quiet service person, continue to do that. But everyone's thoughts and input and time are appreciated and welcomed and part of what makes us who we are. I also want to say thank you to Derek Ochu, who's been like this super steady, awesome member of the vestry between his clerk and minutes and his taking up of La Misa and running with that like full bore and really being a leading force in that. And there's like a ton of people who have, like Kim with the treasury and Angela and Kathy and just a ton of people who've done little things behind Peggy and Tom that I just really appreciate all that you guys have done. And then I'll just say this, or I'll try to cut it short here. You know, this year, 2022 was definitely a year of restoration and growth for St. Paul's. We emerged from the lockdowns and the worst of COVID, and we've grown stronger, and we've grown closer as a family together. We have our strong traditions as our foundation while we look forward to the future. And I think we're very uniquely positioned as we do that. We speak, without even attempting to, we speak to people that are trying to find intentional faith and intentional congregations and intentional places to serve and worship that maybe aren't their first line of where they came from in faith. People have deconstructed their faith and rebuilt into what they want to be and are searching for new places that align with that. Places that are open and accepting of all and who truly do love their neighbors as they are. And that's what we need to keep at heart of anything we do going forward. Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest and best thing about this church, this parish, this congregation. That I couldn't do anything. I couldn't be the person. I wouldn't be as nearly as happy of a person if I didn't have this foundation to stand on every week. You know, we definitely have more challenges next year. I think if we continue to be the truth or the honest and sincere people that we are, it will help us to continue to grow and continue to serve. So I'll leave it at that. God bless. Or, I'm sorry, Mary Ellen had some. I'm sorry? Yeah, I mean, I can answer that for you real quick, though. Her budget came out of the Lamisa project, which was a grant from the diocese.
Can't go anywhere yet, though, James.
Oh,
On
uh-oh.
behalf of the congregation, I would like to present you with a certificate of appreciation. And let me read that to you. With our profound gratitude and in recognition of your faithful commitment to the people and vestry of St. Paul's Episcopal Church and your dedicated service as the senior warden, we give you great thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the president.
Bags. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, James. All right. Tom, I'd like to invite you forward. Oh, yeah, I have to tell you. I'm sorry I missed. This is very exciting. You ready? Do we have a drum roll? And the new senior warden is Karen Watts. We're so excited. I'm really delighted to have Karen serve in this capacity, and I'm so grateful for her willingness. So thank you, Karen.
So the junior warden's report, I should have used bigger type. I'm having trouble seeing my notes.
Do you want cheaters? We got some out there.
I'm not sure if they'd help. I'll just hold it up here. I wanted to thank, first of all, Kathy Watts for stepping in as the interim junior warden a month or so ago. She's really been taken over, and as I was assuming some treasury roles, Kathy was a big help.
See if we can get this up a little.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Hello. So the highlights of the year for me included the church cleanup days and the outside thing that Pastor Rebecca's already mentioned. We also have a painted red door out there that Peggy Schroeder did under my supervision. And I actually also put a barrier on the fence to keep people from coming into the memorial garden from the alley, but that was destroyed at some point, so that was one of the failures, I guess. We also received a $10,000 matching grant from the diocese to use for repairs to the building. We spent some of that to do spot tuck pointing on the Hyam House, and we also tuck pointed the bell tower of the church. And an indication that that was successful is we haven't seen a bird or bat since that was done, so we're happy with that. And we did some small things. We had the railing outside the under the awning there fixed, which was a project. But there's more to do, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. So in 2018, St. Paul's was transitioning from one rector to another, and Father Al Jusen was the interim. Kim Bowling was an innocent member of the congregation, and then it happened. Father Al asked her to be treasurer, and Kim, unaware of what lay ahead, said yes. That was the beginning of a heroic journey for our former treasurer. Kim had a huge learning curve to acquire the skills to be a treasurer. She was assuming that role in a church that needed a transition from written ledgers and QuickBooks to a more fulsome financial platform. Am I saying that right? Yeah. She navigated quarterly reports and designated funds. She revamped the account number system for our budget. She established accountability measures for counting and tracking money, made profit and loss reports, generated budgets, enabled us to give online, as well as navigating payroll, insurance, taxes. And on top of it all, we took on a $200,000 plus renovation with the concomitant invoicing and check cutting. Are you tired thinking about all that? I mean, it was amazing. After hundreds of volunteer hours, workshops, and trainings, Kim laid the foundation for our well-being well into the decades to come. There is no way to overstate this. Kim is a superhero. We cannot compensate her for the gift of her time, talent, and perseverance. Only God can, and only God will, and God will. God will. Well done, good and faithful servant. If Kim, I'll meet you up front here in a second with your gift, or if you want to come up, why don't you come up now? And you don't have to come all the way up here, but we've got a present for you. If only it was a gold bullion cube, right? Kim, on behalf of the congregation, let me read an upside-down certificate. In recognition of her faithful commitment and dedicated service as treasurer, for managing finances in an exemplary manner, for maintaining efficient bookkeeping and accounting standards, for aiding us in achieving financial transparency and maintaining our integrity, we give you great thanks. So your gift is heavy.
Okay.
If you want to open it so people can see it, or if you want to just show it after.
I can open it.
Okay.
Am I going to break the tray?
The table. It's up. Okay.
I think I know what it is. It's like Christmas.
It is. It's a little tricky. Okay, pull. If you can.
Okay, well. Oh.
This is one of the most beautiful things is Kim goes into the memorial garden and honors her husband. And this is something from us to say so that she can place her flowers there.
It replaces the little $2 plastic one that I have out there that blows away. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're so welcome. We are so grateful. I'll take care of this. Here's your bag. That's okay. Just stick it in there. And there's a card as well. And you know, the text says, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter your reward." Her reward is she's done being treasurer. And we're so grateful for those years of service and so grateful for Tom, who's willing to step into those big shoes and take us forward into the future. I just saw him take a big gulp. We love you, Tom. Please join us, and he'll lead us into the financials.
You have the revenue and expense statement, as well as my comments in your packet from today. Again, I'm having trouble reading, so. That's better, I think. I know I'm styling. Thank you. Pledge income for the year was $58,605, which was 99% of the goal. Total contributions, that means pledges plus plate and non-pledge gifts, were $73,050, which was about 105% of our budget. And the total revenue was $107,344, which was about 98% of the budget. So you might ask, how can the gifts be more than budget, but the total less? And that's because when we made the budget, we thought we were going to get $35,000 from the diocese to support Pastor Rebecca's salary, and we got $30,000. And so that was one of the things. And the other reduction in revenue was that we only had income from the Hyam House for about half the year. So those brought it down. You can see I listed, yes.
Could you tell us the source of the parish hall revenue? Like what groups used our hall and gave us that revenue?
I'm new at this, like 2 weeks, but I think it's the AA money from the AA meetings.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead,
No,
Rebecca. I know
please.
part of it is from the AA groups, and then remind me the other part for the.
It was a family that had an anniversary renewal of their vows that rented the building as well. So I think we had at least one, if not a couple of things like that, where people in the neighborhood rented the building.
Okay. I thought Eliza had a question for me back there. So you can see the expenses that were under budget and the expenses that were over budget by a significant amount. And you got to remember that the budget is actually our best guess a year ahead of time. So we don't really expect everything to come in exactly as budget. And so there always will be differences. The operating deficit for the year was $38,711, which was actually less than the budgeted deficit we had of $49,777. So we were able to save some expenses along the way. The other thing I did, which you don't have, is last year's financial statements. So if you compare this year to last year, compare 2022 to 2021, our total revenue was $9,400 higher. Total expenses were $12,144 lower. And the total deficit of $38,773 was actually less than last year's deficit of $60,626 by $21,915. So I'm not going to be able to read this. If you'd like to to see how much investment money we have, please see me afterwards. I have it on one of these sheets, but there's no way I can read it. I used way too much small type, way too small a type. Yes.
No, it's good.
Okay, I have a question to ask. You made the mention that we got a grant for the Latin adventure, and then we had a grant for something else. How much in grants did we actually get this year?
Do you know what we got for Lamisa?
So, do you want me to give a
Yeah.
long shot? Okay, so we received, James.
Top of my head, 35,000, 10,000 for the repairs to the Hyam house, which we did, there's still more that needs to be done there. And then the $25,000 from the Lumisa program, I'm sure that I'm missing some, but that was,
And the 30,000 from the diocese to offset the salary.
right. Correct.
I would follow that.
Yes, 500 from Task Force for the Hungry, a little over 19,000 for Lamisa, 30,000 for salary, and 10,000 was a grant for the repairs. It's in the designated funds that's
Is
real
that in
tiny
there?
font. It's in there. The only thing that's not in the designated funds is the salary. You see that on the first page? Yep.
All right.
Did you-
So do we need a motion or something?
have a
Another question?
On the mission and outreach, where we budgeted a little over $2,000 and spent $820, which was about 40% of what we budgeted. Is it the difference in budget versus actual? Is that because there were donations that offset expenses, or was it because we just weren't able, because of pandemic stuff, like to really do what we had hoped to do?
So to speak to your question, it was that combination, Angela. We receive a lot of support for our ministries in terms of that, but we don't always know how much it's going to be. Is that right? I'm speaking right, Kim? And so we sometimes get money that's designated for that we use that we didn't budget for. And in addition, yeah, our ministries during pandemic were really curtailed. So it's that combination.
Do we need a motion to accept that?
Yes. Do you want to invite a motion? Or I'll invite a motion to accept the budget. We didn't go over,
didn't
to
do
accept
the
the
budget yet.
financial reports. So moved. Second, James and Mary, and all in favor to accept the financial reports as provided for 2022. Say aye, raise your hand. All right. Okay, anybody with abstaining or, okay. Opposed.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the budget for this year. The budget is right after the financial statement in your packet.
It should be the last 3 pages, 3 or 4 pages.
yeah.
It says 2023 budget. Everybody got it? Nod if you got it. Yep.
Okay. All right. So again, as I mentioned, the budget is based on a couple things. One is if we have a fixed number, we use that. So for example, in our pledges, we use the amount of pledges for the year as the number. For other things, we have to give it our best guess. And so what we tried to do was build in an amount for inflation and tried to cut where we thought we could legitimately cut, and that's how we came up with this year's budget. So based on the pledges that we received, we expect this year to have 66,863 in pledges, which is about 14% higher than last year. Yeah, we expect to receive the $30,000 again from the diocese for Pastor Rebecca's salary, to offset part of her salary, I should say. And in total, we're budgeting $104,384, and that's compared to last year's $107,344. So we're expecting a little less in revenue, but when you factor in we over budgeted last year by $5,000, or you can see it's pretty close to the same. For budgeted expenses, I wanted to point out that for pastor's salary, we factored in a raise from this year, and then we discounted it because Pastor Rebecca is going to work at 85% effort this year to help keep the costs down. And so with all that, we expect our expenses to be about $147,537 compared to last year's $146,055. So right in the same ballpark as 2022. There's some concern because of inflation, things may go up beyond our control, but that's our best guess right now. So we're budgeting, expecting a net deficit next year of $43,153, which is about 5,000 more than we had in 2022.
Thank you. Are there any, I need a motion to approve the 2023 budget. Mary Ellen and James and Karen, okay. And then are there any comments or amendments that need to be made? Are we ready to vote? Yes, please, Richard.
Just a comment, and this relates to the discussion earlier about the Hyam House, is that we put nothing into this year's budget for maintenance or repairs over there, which is something that's been a somewhat major expense over the past few years. So just, to throw that in, if we decide to keep it and do renovations, then, that was something that would need to be added.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, depending on what happened, we may have to revise the budget mid-year as we have new information.
Thank you. Angela?
I noticed that the pledges have gone up considerably over last year's budgeted pledge income, and that the non-pledge gifts and plate have gone down. And I am hopeful that that indicates that people who have been giving have actually decided to make a formal pledge.
That's correct.
And I just want to say that's a really big step and a really good thing in the life of a congregation when people are more willing to pledge, and I think that's something to celebrate. So good job on whoever, I forget who I don't remember, it was Karen as last year's
I was just gonna,
stewardship chair. Good job. Good
yes.
job.
All right. Let us vote for the 2023 budget. We got a second from James and Karen. Okay. All in favor of accepting the 2023, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed or abstaining? Okay. Thank you. The budget has passed. Thank you, Tom. On behalf of the congregation for your service as junior warden throughout the bulk of the year, I want to give you our annual as a keepsake for the year of service. Thank you so much. Every year, Emily Ochu makes these. I think maybe we had others who supported her in this process, but she kind of brings it to completion. And these are available for us to purchase. They're about $35, which is kind of expensive. But you also can look at them in the parish hall, and they're really great. People love hanging out and waiting and looking at these. So, so grateful for Emily for her service in doing this. And other copies will be going to those wardens who are stepping down for James and Kim. So I also want to just give great thanks to Karen for your leadership in the stewardship campaign and all those who spoke during that time. We're so grateful for that. You may have remembered that I said I was going down to 3/4 time. And now I'm going to 85% time. So I don't think you will experience any diminishment of my service to you if you do talk to me, because I certainly want to continue serving in ways that are meaningful. But that shift is really gratefully accepted from my husband, Scott, who is like 85% is going to really bite when we got a kid in college. So I am very grateful that it's not more than 85. So thank you. I also want to lift up Richard Byrne for the driving and the concert and so many ways that Richard is a quiet servant. Just thinking about that. Really appreciate it for the rides and yeah. So thank you. All right, so now we are ready to elect our vestry and delegates. Given that we have slots and people to fill them, we don't need to go one by one. We can elect them by acclamation as one body. Is there anyone who has a concern or objection about that? All right, could I have a motion to accept our slate of delegates to vestry and convention? Ed, thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Justin. A second. All in favor of our delegates and vestry candidates becoming our new representatives, say aye. Aye. I'm not supposed to say that. Sorry. You guys vote. But I heard aye very resoundingly. Anyone abstaining or objecting? All right. Super. Thank you for your service, those of you who are stepping up, and thank you to all those who are continuing to serve on our vestry. Mary Ellen. Here you go.
Last year, and don't ask me when, but last year sometime on the screen up there, we had an introduction of a young lady. Whatever happened to that?
Oh, Meadow. Oh, yes, our communications specialist.
So
Meadow,
what does she do?
our communications specialist works with social media, does all of our stuff on Facebook and Instagram. She is taking care of the newsletter in conjunction with me, like the one that came out with all of the reports. She's particularly assigned to Lamisa, so she attends the meeting, she participates in the communications for that as well. So. Yeah, no, great question. I mean, because she's invisible to us primarily. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions or thoughts? Or I will go ahead and close us in prayer.
February 12th, next Lamisa.
The second Sunday of every month will be our Lamisa Sunday. If you have friends, please invite them. Whether they have a Latinx history or not, just invite them. It's going to be a very special Sunday. All right, let us. Do you want to dismiss us? Yeah. Oh, here comes the mic. Love to those on the live stream. Everybody want to blow kisses, give waves. We love you, live stream people. Hoping you feel better.
Let us go forth in the name of Christ.
Thanks be to God. Right, yeah, please join us at the wind down now. If you didn't RSVP but you're up for it, just come.